Did you really just name this episode after one of the worst Friday the 13th movies? Well. Hey, you know how this season is all about continuity, right? Well, Manehattan has some great opportunities for that. For one thing, Babs lives here, so maybe we could see how she's doing. Oh, wait, no. Well, the first time we saw Manehattan was in the Cutie Mark Chronicles, when Applejack moved here to learn about high society. So maybe we could... No? Really? Just a Rarity episode, huh? Okay, just making sure. The episode begins in Ponyville. At the train station, we learn that Rarity is going to Manehattan for a week to compete in a fashion competition, and the other main five are going too for support. We get subjected to some Pinky humor, which has been really hit or miss this season, and it definitely misses here. Now personally, I don't really have a problem with Pinky being more focused on comedy, but I'm also reminded of Too Many Pinkie Pies, which was also written by Dave Polsky. Even though that episode was basically one big excuse to go completely batshit loony with her, the character still had a brain in her head, whereas here, Rarity literally just walks around her because she's talking like an idiot. I'm just saying, can we at least try to remember that there's supposed to be an actual character here? Anyway, they arrive in Manehattan, all the while talking about all the fun things they plan to do, when Rarity suddenly starts singing about being generous. And of course Rainbow Dash is all, yeah, musicals are stupid, why would anyone just break into a song? What the fuck? Okay, I'd be lying if I said Rarity was never generous before, as Suited for Success is one of my all-time favorite episodes, but it's also a fairly common observation among fans that she seems to be less connected to her element than the other five, especially after episodes like Sweet and Elite, where Rarity benefited from Twilight's generosity, and then she tried to screw Twilight over on her birthday and got away with it. I appreciate that they actually are trying to give her more of a connection to her element here, and it's a good song, but when have we ever seen her get ready for a fashion show and then go around fixing broken cab wheels at random? Doesn't this feel like they're overdoing it a bit? Unless that's the point, like she's going, hey everybody, come over here and look how generous I'm being. I am so generous. Do you like me now? At least we finally get to find out what the deal is with hot dogs in Equestria. Anyway, she finally makes it to the competition and we're introduced to this character. Oh my, I already used up the Plinkett joke for Flight to the Finish, but it really does look like something's wrong with her face. Even her butt looks lopsided, and for some reason they hold an extended shot on it while she does that little snooty tail flick. Rarity also meets an old acquaintance named Suri. She starts admiring some of Rarity's original custom-made fabric and asks if she can have some for a few highlights here and there, which Rarity happily agrees to. But lo and behold, that worthless cunt ends up using the fabric for everything and begins showing it off so that everyone will think Rarity copied her instead of the other way around. And I really like how Rarity's brain just stops working and all she can think to say is, you stole my fabric! Of course, Suri points out that that's technically not true, which is exactly what a douchebag would say in this situation, and Rarity says, oh fuck you, you know what I meant. So after going back to the hotel to break down for a while, Rarity does what she does best and gets inspired to make a new line of outfits. Unfortunately, she'll need her friend's help to get everything done on time, which means they'll have to cancel all their other plans. Now, I know everyone's been gushing about this scene, and frankly, so am I. The dialogue here feels so real. After all the fantasy and adventure elements that we've gotten earlier this season, it's a real shock to see the main characters all sitting down to slow, boring work that they clearly see as a chore, and then have Twilight ask about ordering food. And the dynamic between the characters is very believable. You can understand why Rarity's getting frustrated and focusing on her work, but at the same time, you can also understand why the others feel disappointed and just want to get out. And unlike some other episodes that try to force you to believe that one side is right or wrong, here everyone's being kind of a selfish jerk, but in a way that's very relatable. It's a jarringly realistic scene that's very well done. Also, it has cursing for kids! With the new outfits completed, Rarity finally makes it back to the competition where, oh my god, is that sheer fabric? You put sheer fabric on ponies? Do you have any idea what you've just done? Actually, it did very little. I still haven't seen any fan art of this, and considering some of the other things the show has inspired, that's pretty surprising. Hey fandom, give yourselves a cookie. But then we see Rarity's designs and what the hell is that? I mean, I know you had very little time, but seriously, she's wearing a lampshade for a hat and soap on a rope for a necklace. If I were a judge there, I'd start laughing my ass off. But unbelievably, everyone responds to it rather well, except for Rarity's friends who still haven't shown up. She gets worried that she might have pushed them too far and goes to look for them, but it turns out to be a misunderstanding and they all meet up back at the competition later. They tell her that she didn't win, but she's just happy to see them again, and she decides to make up for how she behaved earlier by calling in an extra favor and taking them to see a play that they missed out on the day before. That's when Buttercream, I mean Coco Pamel, aka the latest character for the fandom to jerk off to this episode, comes in and tells Rarity that she won the competition after all, and that Suri lied to try and take her prize. Yeah, because having a trophy with Rarity's name on it will make you look super legit. Asshole. With Coco telling Suri to go fuck herself, Rarity offers Coco a job filling in for that extra favor that she promised. So, in addition to having enough jewelry to throw around that bits might as well not exist anymore, Rarity is now officially a pimp. And so, the episode ends with the main six all going back to Ponyville, while Rarity says that even though others might try to screw you over, that's no excuse for becoming a piece of shit yourself. A good lesson indeed, and certainly one that anyone who's tried to do business on the internet can identify with. I felt like parts of this episode were trying to apologize for Sweet and Elite, which I still consider to be a great episode, but I was always bothered by the fact that Rarity never got called out on the questionable things that she did. And even though she knew she was doing things that were bad, she never really apologized for any of it. This episode addresses both of those issues by showing Rarity feeling genuine concern and actively trying to make things right for her friends, and with a clever reference that assumes you know how AJ and Rainbow Dash behaved in Season 1. They even stop and kinda wink at each other over it. The thing is, Rarity has the most nuanced personality of the main cast. Lauren Faust even admitted that the type of character Rarity represents would normally be cast as a villain on other shows, so it can sometimes be difficult to find just the right balance, showing that she's good but realistically flawed, complicated and overly dramatic, but not a reprehensible bitch. And even though this episode tries a little too hard at times, to its credit, it also takes a very mature approach by showing that you can get angry, and even fight with your friends sometimes, and you can still forgive each other later. As long as it's within an appropriate limit, of course. If you're not careful, you could still cross the line and end up like Suri. And I think we've all met someone like that at some point. As a side note, let's talk about Princess Twilight. Yeah, her behavior in this episode is a little confusing. I'm glad that she doesn't lord her power over others, and frankly, I doubt that Celestia would have deemed her worthy of that power if she did, but she stepped up every time Equestria needed her. That deserves a little respect. There's a difference between being humble and just letting everyone walk all over you. I know fans were worried that things would change too much, but what's the point in making her a princess if you aren't going to do anything with it? In fact, it kind of makes me wonder, did everyone treat Celestia this way when she started ruling? Did she have to do something to make everyone respect her? Is that why everyone looks afraid of her even during Season 1 when she was always cheerful? What the hell did she do? You know what? Never mind. I don't want to know. Ultimately, if you can get past the fact that this feels like Rarity is being rebooted, this is a good episode. Not as balanced as Suited for Success, or as enjoyable as Sweet and Elite. Yes, I still think the dialogue in that one is a little better, but it's a step in the right direction and a good entry for Season 4. Rarity Takes Manehattan gets an 8 out of 10. Hey everyone, if you like this video, be sure to support me on Patreon. There's a link in the description below.